Be'ez Hashem, to understand a little bit the idea of Power of Tumah, of the power of impurity. Is there in fact such a force? Is there powers? Is there the dark side? Is there powers to the dark side? Now, of course, this is a very big argument amongst many of the early commentators, between the Ramban, etc. But to understand a little bit this deeper, especially connected to the parsha, to the portion of Balak, which speaks about a prophet, two prophets, Balak and Balaam. These are prophets of doom, negative prophets, like sort of the shadow side of holy prophecy. What exactly is this? How does it work? And how does a person have access to this? And is it real? And to understand really the construct, the difference between Kedusha, the holy, the sacred, the transcendent, versus the opposite, the negative forces. What are they, and if there is such a thing, at least in our level of consciousness, and level of consciousness of a person. So the ZOHAR opens up in Parshas Balak. The ZOHAR starts like this: Vayar Balak ben Tzipor, the Balak, the son of Tzipor. It says that he saw. Says the ZOHAR. Reb Shimon says. What does it mean that he saw? Vayar Mari Chama, Riya Mamash. He saw something literally. Chama Mashkufa de Chachmasa. He saw through the glass, the window of wisdom, the Chama Beinai, and he also saw through his eyes. Means he saw on a deeper level of seeing, and he saw physically. He saw. Obviously, these are two related, because what a person sees in an inner level, which means in their own prism, to their own, because of their own mindsets and feelings and internal life, that's really the way we see the world on the outside world. We don't see things the way they are, but the way we are. So the deeper level of seeing caused the outer way of seeing as well. What does it mean that he saw that he saw with the mirror, the glass, the window of wisdom? Like it says in the pasuk with regards to Avimelech, that the king of Plishtim, Avimelech, saw through the window. What does it mean he saw through the window when he said he saw Yitzchak together with Rivka? As it says in the pasuk, in Shoftim ba'ada chaloy nishkafa tayavev em Sisra, that the mother of Sisra, of this powerful general, who went to battle with Klal Yisrael, she was looking out of the window. This is the source for Tkiyah Shofar also. And it says she was looking out of the window and waiting for him to return. So she was nishkafa ba'ada chaloy, she was looking through the window. So the ZOHAR says, chaloy de chachmasa, what is this window of wisdom? This is nave shalayin de kachava. It's the sort of the tail end of the wisdom of the stars, astrology. And through that, Vayar Balak b'chachmasa, through that he saw, through his own wisdom he saw. So there's something about the stars. Zohar is talking about the stars and a window. What does this mean? That there is a chaloin and there's a chaloim. There is a window, and then there's a dream. A dream is something that, for the most part, Einan Mahar Balayla, a person, what they think about through the day, whether consciously or subliminally, appears to a person in their dream. It's the subliminal images and thoughts and impressions that show themselves up in the dream. And then through seeing through a window is you're looking outwards. You're seeing something that's, for the most part, at least in a manner of speaking, is something that's objective to you. But since you're looking at it through a window, and sometimes through a window you see also your own reflection. So it's sort of through your reflection you're seeing outwards. We see this idea of appearing, an image appearing in a window appears very strongly in the idea of Yosef, when he looks and he says, that when Yosef HaTzadik was tempted, He looks out the window. He sees the image of his father. The Kav HaYashar writes he saw the image of his father and his mother, like the Yerushalmi. In our Gemara, in Sot, it says he saw his father. But the idea is that, was this a conjured up image? Was this an image that he attached himself to when he was going through struggle? Or is this an objective image that appeared to him? And the truth is, they're both in conversation or in unity with each other. It is a projection of themselves from within themselves. I mean, it's a projection from within yourself, and this is a reflection that shows up in the mirror. And then it's a projection from the outside. It's sort of this combining of the objective and the subjective. But the idea is that there's something that rises up from a person's deepest resources, which they're not conscious of, and it shows up in a dream, or it shows up in a silhouette of, it shows up objectively in a mirror or in a glass. This is the image. So there's like a projection that you're not even conscious of that shows itself up in something, and then that's also projected from the other person's towards you. That's the idea of a chaloi. That's the image that's being seen through a mirror or a glass. But the Zohar also connects this type of imagery to astrology. So there is, what is astrology? Not to get into, again, to the long conversation, whether it's real or it's not, and what's the effects of it. But the concept of, the idea of astrology is that something is set in stars, which means something is inevitable. This is a truth that's inevitable. This is your lot. This is the way, today you'll say, this is your genetic makeup. For a more modern man, they'll say maybe this is your upbringing. And for the most part, a lot of people are a reflection of their genetic makeup and are a reflection of their environment. Doesn't mean it's absolute, but this is the way someone can argue, or someone will argue, that it's already set in the stars. It's already predestined. This means something that is inevitable and unmovable. This is the first thing that we have to understand. Let's go a little deeper. Ben Tzipor, so it says that he's the son of a Tzipor. What is a Tzipor? Kama da Amra. This is what he says. Ben Tzipor, this means literally of a person. That the Chazal say that it means, the Zohar says that it means earlier, it means the son of children of Yisrael. But it also means Avol Ben Tzipor Mam, which means literally he is the son of, which means he's imprinted from a bird. What does it mean? That his whole involvement in this divination, this type of black magic or sorcery, was involved with a bird. He took a bird, and then he would take grass and would like rub the grass, make it into like finer, into details. And then mafriach ba'avra, then he would throw up the grass upwards. And then the Aved Uvdin V'lachish Lechisha, he would do certain actions and say certain cantations, certain words he would say. Then the tzipor, which was flew away, would come back. And then the bird would come back to him. And they would put it in a closed location. And then he would offer incense for this bird. And the bird would reveal great secrets to him. Then this, or sometimes he would send away this bird, and it would fly, away to the one who has the open eyes, Galu Einayim. We're going to understand this imagery very strongly soon. Galu Einayim, this is the Gemara says in ZOHAR, the Gemara says that the Satan of Balak is full of Einayim, full of open eyes. So he sends it to the Satan, he sends it to the demonic forces, or Azza, or Azil, that the Gemara says in Yuma, these are the two angels that fell in the story in the film. Let's understand just the context and understand what this actually means. That these are these angels that fell from heaven, and he would send them away to that place of the open eyes, and then the tzibur would return back and reveal. Okay, then the Zohar has another piece. Then the Zohar says, "Mashma tzipor." What is the name of this bird? Yadua. that the name of this bird is called Yedua. Yedoini. In Chazal it's called Yedoini, but the Zohar calls it Yedua. The Gemara also says it's called Yedua. That it's a name that's called, it's known. This is the name of the bird. No one really understood how to deal with this bird until Balak came along and dealt with this bird. Any wisdom that he received from this bird. This is what he used to do with the bird. He would bow down in front of this bird. He would offer incense, and he would say certain words and connotations. And then he would say, then he was talking to the bird, and he said, Iyu Amar Ha'am. Balak said that this nation, he called them the which is a very the lowest form of calling Klal Yisrael, is the word comes from a weak people. V'tzipar asiv Yisrael. But the tzipor, the bird, responded and said, no, these are people are called Yisrael. They're a Rosh, they're a Sar, they're masters, they're the head. Iyu Amar Ma'od. He said, there's just a lot. There's a lot of people. Which is like, naturally, there's just a lot of people. I don't know what to do with these people. Tzipar asiv Rav. The tzipor, the bird, responded, no, these are great people. Ravi lo da asabahu, because the great one is walking amongst them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem is walking amongst them. And they talk like this back and forth. He said, Iyo Amar Dal. He said, Balak said that they're weak. V'tzipar Amar Rav. And the tzipor said, no, they're great. And then Balak really was afraid of them, and therefore Yagamoyim Te'am Oid Ki Ravhu. And therefore Balak became afraid because he recognized that they were great. What is the Zohar actually saying? So a few things, for like a few pointers, and then we'll understand the depth of what this teaching is, and it gives us a real indication of what is the definition of Kedusha, of holy, something that's connected to the Ein Sof, something that's connected to the infinite light of Hashem, versus something that's the opposite. And there's a few clues. One is that Klippa, this negative side, and of course it's just the shadow side of the light, is that the negative side is something that is connected to some type of predictability. There's a bird, whatever this bird, there's some type of bird that reveals wisdom, and the bird is connected, is a name that's called Yedua, that is known. The seeing that Balak sees is a type of seeing that comes through an absolute understanding of things, that is the idea of astrology, the stars. But the way Balak engages with the bird is he's mekashash b'yisavo mifrach ba'avira. He takes grass, which is symbolic of the earth, of the vitality of the earth, and he breaks it down into small, he rips it apart into small little pieces, and mafriach ba'avar, and he throws it up. So that's an image of worship, of worshiping the bird, that he's doing something. He's taking something from the earth and he's throwing it up. That's another thing important to understand. And then, in order for him to really receive wisdom, he's gachen kameh, he bows in front of this thing, into the bird, and he offers incense, and he says all these connotations. What is this saying? There's the basic difference, and there's a few basic differences between Kedusha and Klippa, is that Kedusha is Milmaila Lamata. This is the way the Balasum writes this also in this week's parsha. And this comes from Dari. The principle comes from Darizal. Sometimes there can any hamshacha milmaila, any drawing down of life, of divine shefa that comes down from above, there first has to be an alasman. There first has to be an elevation from below. It could be a alasman menei obey. Sometimes a alasman within the thing in itself, before there's a human participation. But the entire system works Kedusha works, that it's not namak suf, it's not shameful bread, which means that Kedusha means that you're doing the work. There's Allah Osman, the elevation of the feminine waters, means I'm participating. I'm not just receiving. When I'm receiving itself, just a receiving posture, that's klipa. When it's just about receiving and there's no participation, I didn't do anything to it, to receive it, then it's namak suf, it's shameful bread. And that's the idea of klipa. It's free. The Zohar says, when Klal Yisrael says, we remember the food that we ate free in Egypt, means that in the idea of Egypt, in the place of constriction, the place of constricted consciousness, in the place of klipa, of negativity, that's the place where things are free. There's no participation, there's no work. That's one difference. That it comes from below to above, and there from the halas mandas amshachas ma'at, through the elevation of the below, you're drawing down from above. That's the definition of Kedusha. The definition of Kedusha also is that it's chesed din rachmid. There's always the right column, left column, middle column. It's not just one or the other. It's not just moiched ba'aba, moiched ima, or chachma bina, but there's always, or chesed and gvura, but there's always tiferes. There's always yisoid, which means that the idea of Kedusha is iskalus, interconnectivity. It's not one-dimensionality. Because of that, the posture, the position, the mindset of klipa is stuckness. It's a mindset of inevitability, predictability, and immobility. Because when a person, let's translate this in terms of 1,000 levels lower, in a person's own personal life, when is a person in a state of klipa, a plate of concealment? When a person is stuck. And when they're stuck in such a way that they don't see any alternative and they think that their life is inevitable. Whatever the situation is, and you find yourself in a stuck situation, whether it's a hard job, a relationship, or your relationship with your children, or parnasa, or health, whatever a person is dealing with in their life, when a person says that there is no way forward, there's no possibility, I'm stuck in this thing, and I'm locked into this consciousness of stuckness, of that it's predicted, the stars, this is the way it has to be, and there's destiny, and there's no way for me to create anything different. Or when it's yodua, and saying it's the bird that says, I know everything, that's the definition of klipa. That's the definition of something that is negative. On a super high level, Balak was trying to draw down from the Gimel Rishonos from Chachma Abina, from the world of Chachma, the wisdom and understanding of Klipa. Trying to do that to mimic the process of Kedusha as well. So what did Balak do? He did a lost man. What was that lost man? He took the grass and he threw it upwards. That idea of throwing it upwards is symbolic to him of an action of a lost man, even though it's a lost man of elevation of something, of an action that is meaningless and it's pointless. But the idea is to him is, I'm going to mimic the same process of Kedusha to receive something. But what he does receive is he submits himself to the world of the inevitability, to the world of the predictability, to the koyach of Tumah. What's the koyach of Tumah? What's the power of the negative power? The negative power of the world, or the assumed negative power of the world, is the world where everything is absolute the way it is and there's no other possibility. When it's yedua, when it's known, and when it's the kachavim predicted, and it's predicted by the stars, so to speak, when everything's exactly the way it is. So when Balak bows down and offers offerings, what that really means, he's trying to get into the consciousness of the reality of the world of predictability. And in the world of predictability, you could say that the world of predictability is just like the sun rises, sunset. So tomorrow the sun rises, sunset. And if I can enter into the rhythm of nature, of almost the predictability of nature, I can predict what's going to be tomorrow because based on what happened today. This is Klippa. Why? To say this a little bit deeper. There's Balak on his conscious level, and there's Balak on his subconscious level. And it's not only Balak, but it represents a person that's stuck in a paradigm of Klippa. And then there's a side of Kedusha, which represents Moshe. And Ma'ayin, Moshe comes from the word Ayin. The filling letters of the word Moshe, Mem Shin Hey, is Yud Nun, is Mem, is a filling letter, and Shin Yud, and Yud Nun, and Hey is Me'ayin. That the Moshe comes from the world of Ayin. So there's Kedusha, which is the place of Ayin and infinity. There's the place of Balak on a conscious level, and Balak on a superconscious level, a subconscious level, which is the place of Klippa. And to explain it like this, Balak says there's a weak people. There are a lot of people, but they're weak and they're poor. This is the image. Just write this on the conscious level. He's saying this. And therefore, I have nothing really to worry about them. That's the original position on the conscious level of Balak. But then he sees. What does he see? He sees through the reflection on the mirror, on the window, which means his subconscious draws out a deeper truth or deeper reality to him that he is not even aware of on a conscious level. And when he sees that, he becomes afraid. So when Balak sees, what does he see? He sees he sees through the mirror that's projected, or the image that's projected on the window, that his subconscious is projecting, like we said before, like the Yosef Atzadik, the opposite of that. That's a Kedusha, that's the holy, but it's the opposite side. That his sometimes your subconscious, to translate this in your own life, in a conscious level, I'm not sure what I really think or really fear, but sometimes from my subconscious, it appears in my dreams or appears in these images that I see throughout the world. You know, they say a child is, let's say, sees monsters, or when they're trying to go to sleep, or sees this imagery. It's a projection of their subconscious of fears, that their fear of death, or their fear of losing their parents, and it's projected into such an image that they're seeing. This is the first level of this is what Balak is seeing. He's seeing his subconscious projected onto the window, and therefore he's afraid. He's afraid of these people. And he's afraid of these people. And then the similar thing is when he has a conversation sort of with the bird, the way the Zohar describes it is that he says, he says there are weak people. And then the bird, his inner subconscious, which is connected to the world of stuckness, of Yadua, that's known, and predictability, and in that world where there's no movement, but his inner subconscious reveals to him. Again, it's sort of a interplay between the subconscious, something that's going on with inside himself, and it's acted out through an actual object. And through the actual object is a reflection of his subconscious, and his subconscious talking to him, and he's acting it out with his subconscious. Something deeper comes in and says, no, they're Yisrael. These people are very strong. He says they're Moed, and they say, no, it's Rav. And something deeper says that it's Rav. He says they're Dal. He says they're weak. And the other one says, no, the deeper level says, no, that they're actually strong. This is why he's afraid. This is where the fear comes in. The fear comes in because he feels that they're powerful, and they're big, and they're mighty, and they're a prince. This is Yisrael, and this is a threat to him. This, or shouldn't have been, but this is the way he thinks. That in his mind, this was a threat to him. So this is the level of his subconscious. Then there's something even that's deeper than this. This is the level of Klippa. To say it slightly different, there is the conscious fear of something. Then there's the subconscious fear of something. Because you think a certain inevitability, that things are not going to work out, and things are stuck, so you consciously feel that you're stuck, and then you even subconsciously even feel that you're stuck. And if you're so long that you're feeling even subconsciously stuck, certainly if you're feeling consciously, but even subconsciously, or the other way around, maybe subconsciously is even worse. If you're feeling subconsciously that it's Yadua and it's in the stars, it's still the world of Klippa. Because underneath that is the place that's beyond the stars, that's beyond that what is known. When Avram Avinu is told that by the stargazers, and Avraham Avinu himself was a tremendous astrologer, whatever this conversation, exactly what this means. When Avraham Avinu was told that he cannot have a child, what did Hashem tell him? Hashem told him, say, Hashem took Avraham and said, let's go beyond the stars. Let's go to the place of where the impossible is possible. In the place of the ayin, where everything is possible. When let's go to the place that's beyond the predictability, beyond what's Yedua. Klippa says, the negative forces say, this is the way it is, and there's no other way. And it's stuck, this position, and it cannot move. When someone comes along and says, it's impossible, I can't do it, it's impossible. That's a mindset of Klippa. Because it's saying, and you say, well, why is it not possible? Because I couldn't do it yesterday, so I can't do it tomorrow, and I can't do it today. I can't do it today because I couldn't do it yesterday. That's your dua. You're living from a place that is known. You say, I know myself, and I know what it can be done, and this cannot be done. But today you have new koiches. Today you have new potentials, and every day is a new day. And the more you connect yourself with the koiche in Sofius, the infinite one, which is the subconscious beyond the subconscious, the superconscious, the deepest level of the self, the neshama. If you dig deep into your consciousness, you get the dirt. But if you dig even deeper, you find the gems. And that's the place of your neshama, that's the place of your soul, that's the place where you're connected to the infinite one. You're part of Hashem, you're a living part of God, a living part of the divine, mamish, a part of Hashem, part of the infinite one. And therefore, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachol, can create Eshmaim, so could you, on some level, which means you can constantly create. There's a possibility of new creations at every moment, new possibilities. We just have to believe it. And that's what the ZOHAR is saying. That the basic difference in Kedusha and Klippa is, besides the fact that Kedusha is, the holy means that I'm working on it, and it's Allah's man. The holy means that it's Chadar, it's Chesed and Rachmim, there's always balance. It's not just one or the other, it's one, the other, and there's a middle center. And there's always a movement between those three. And there's always interconnectivity or inter-inclusion between everything, and integration between everything besides those two aspects. The basic differences are that we're stuck in the world of Tumah, a place of sasim, where things are closed off. Tumah means impurity, but it means really from the word sasim, something that's stuck. There's timtum alev. The person can be stuck in their heart, they can be stuck in their mind, stuck in their body, to be stuck. And they say, it's Yodua, it's known, and it's just the stars, and this is the way the reality is. Then you're subscribing, you're bowing down to the Koyach HaKlippa, you're bowing down to the powers of the unholy. You're bowing down to the forces of nature and saying that I'm subsuming to these forces. And look, watch, you'll see that tomorrow I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did yesterday. And that's true. If you submit to that, and you bow down to the power, this is what Balak did. If you actually bow down to Klippa and you bow down to that reality and say that's my reality, and I'm stuck and I will be stuck, then you will be stuck. And tomorrow will actually be the exact same thing that it was yesterday. And 99% of your thoughts tomorrow will be exactly the same thoughts that you had today. But if you choose to connect to Likim Chaim, to the living force that gives rise to everything, that's constant alive, that it's Kel Chai, that's a living God, that's a creation Yashmai in every single moment, that creation from ex nihilo, from something into nothing, from nothingness into somethingness at every single moment, the unfolding of the creation, and this infinite amount of unfolding that's constantly happening. If I connect myself, in Dveikus, I connect myself with Hashem, everything is possible at any moment. And that's the definition of Kedusha. That's the highest definition of what it means to be Kaddish, which means holy, to be connected and not get stuck in the world of tzipor, birds that are saying Yedua and the stars, to go beyond the stars. And Klal Yisrael itself, that's our whole birth of a people is that Yitzchak is the joke of history, the joke that defies what the stars say, defies what nature says, defies what predictability says, that we shouldn't exist, and we're small people and we'll disappear. And this is we're the joke of history. Because we could come from a place that's eternal and connected to the eternal one. And anyone that connects to this Ein Sof, when we connect to the infinite light, when we connect to the Klim Chaim, to the living God, to the infinite light, we get out of the place of the Klippa and connect to the highest level of Kedusha. Have a wonderful Shabbos.